escape room was here in Los Angeles. I went with, there were 6 of us in the room total, 5 very good friends of mine. I'd say probably 5 of my 10 closest friends in LA, I would guess. Probably. It's interesting, going into the room, we were just going in to have fun. We were going in to get out. We were going into, like, once we saw that there was a time to beat, we were like, oh, we're going to beat that time, no problem. They give you 1 hour in escape rooms, usually, to get out. We got out in 58 minutes. Oh. So we did not beat anybody's time.
But you made it in time.
We did get out. Yeah. We did get out, but with 2 minutes to go. It was actually like 1 minute and 40-something seconds to go. But it's interesting, we didn't find ourselves fighting or frustrated, but it's so interesting that, like, now going through the experience of this movie and as actors figuring out these characters and putting this movie together, like, I can go back and look at that experience and the escape room experiences I've had since, and I can go, oh, you can definitely see who's who. People's personalities come out so much in escape rooms, and you don't even realize it. In your first time going, you wouldn't even realize it. But I think after being able to go through this experience of the movie, I can now look back and go, oh, you're this person, you're that person, you're this person, I'm this person. And that informs who I go to escape room now in a different way. It was a little bit of both. I mean, because you want your friends to survive. Like, you want everybody to do it together, right? And obviously you're not really going to die in an escape room, hopefully. But you want everybody to survive, but you do get frustrated sometimes when you're like, no, just listen to me for 5 seconds. Like, you do find yourself getting, like, really riled up because you would expect that your friend would listen to you. And sometimes they're like, no, that's not it. Sorry, moving on. Or they're just ignoring you or whatever it is. And then you get mad. So it was a little bit of both. And of course, you can take it completely personally. When it's someone you know, everything is personal. Everything, right? It's like a completely different thing. Yeah. So my guy Jason is a bit of a thrill seeker, a bit of a thrill junkie, and I live some of that personally already. Like, I ride motorcycles, I've skydived, I've scuba dived, I'm currently learning to fly. So there were some things that were easy for me to tap into. And I kind of feel like my work as an actor is to see how me and a character are similar and how we're also different. And the differences are where my work really lies, right? Because the similarities are there. They're going to come out naturally in my essence. But the differences is where I really have to dig in and do my research and figure out who this person is. And so for Jason, it was a couple things. It was, one, he's in the world of finance. I'm in the world of acting. Very, very different. Very, very different worlds. So, like, for me, I watched MSNBC, and I would call, like, friends of mine who were bankers and financial advisors and just ask random questions and, why they do what they do, even. Because I think that's such an interesting thing, too. It's like, why do you do numbers all day long? Like, and so that was a big part of it for me. And then also tapping into what does a traumatic experience like his, what does it do to a character? And why does it force them to then become this thrill seeker and this junkie? And they're not going to back away from a challenge. They are going to always be the best and be first and never quit. And that's what his traumatic experience caused him to do. And that then carries into this escape room where it's kind of created a veneer that he has now. It's kind of created this wall. And when he's, for the first time, put in a situation, or that we know of for the first time put in a situation that kind of mimics his traumatic experience, we kind of get to see what fear does to him. It's the first time where we see this guy who's very brash and bold. We get to see all of that stripped away from him. And now we get to see what fear does. And fear for him is survival. And it doesn't matter who has to lose. It doesn't matter what's at stake. He's going to survive no matter what. And for that part of it, to me, it was just about selfishness. Yeah, because he starts out in this guy where, like, we see him closing a deal, we see him with the smile, we see him pull up on the motorcycle, and so we see all those things, and you look at him and you go, oh, of course he's the guy who's going to survive this. Like, he's the big athletic guy who's like, he's very confident until he's actually tested in this one place, and then it completely breaks for him. And in fear, all he can think about is survival, and that becomes selfishness. Yeah, 100%. He really becomes. There's moments where he becomes very childlike and in his fear, right, and not being able to express himself in his fear. There's moments where we see how his fear stops him from. I don't want to say that. Where his fear kind of causes him to put others in harm.
Yes.
And put others in harm's way, right? Selfishness. And I think that's such an interesting thing because we all, I imagine we've all been called selfish at some point in our life, whether it was real, whether it was true, or whether it wasn't true. So someone's been like, you're being selfish. But like to see what selfishness can actually do to not only a person, but to a group, I think is such an interesting thing. Yeah, 100%. You know, you never really realize what these high stress moments can do to you, and what they bring out of you. And this is what we get to see with each of these characters. You know, what life or death actually means, and who they revert to, who they become, their truest self, maybe in some ways. I would say the ice room for sure, which is Jason's room. I would say the ice room for sure. I mean, it was a challenging room to film in. I think a lot of people would think it was probably the billiards room, but the billiards room was like a jungle, it was like a jungle gym. It was like a playground because we got to climb on things, we got to be on wires, we got to hang in the air, you know. And so like that was a lot of fun because like being on the wires, like if you slipped, like in rehearsals anyway, like you were just kind of swinging. It was literally like being a kid. The ice room was interesting because although we were in this big cavernous space, we were always confined to a small area. The ice was a little slippery the entire time that we were in there. There was a current that was flowing under it. It changed the dynamic of the film because it changed the dynamic. There's an incident there where it changes the dynamic of the film, but it also changed the dynamic of the cast. Because once that incident happened, the cast changes now at that point. And we had spent, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks together every single day by that point, and now all of a sudden, right? And so like that was like a whole shift for us also. And then there was the smoke that was in the room and the snow that would get like stuck in your hair or stuck in your eye, and it's not real snow, so it doesn't melt, it's synthetic, so you're like trying to like wash your eye out the entire time, you know, things already get caught in your throat, just things like that where it's like, you know, you guys don't see that stuff hopefully, but it's just moments where it's like at lunch you're like you know, trying to get out a piece of this synthetic snow. But yeah, it was great. You know, I've been an athlete for most of my life. I played college basketball and still work out quite often. And I worked out 5-6 days a week while we were filming this movie. Every single day. It was on a super strict diet. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training twice a week. We did cable training once or twice a week. And so, again, kind of going back to who Jason was, he's this guy that's always going to be ready physically. You know, he's always going to be ready. That's not what's going to beat him. And so I got to climb around in the billiards room a little bit. I got to fall, and like my legs are dangling as like, you know, there's like 20 feet below me or however many feet below me, stories below me. And I had to, you know, use the strength to pull myself up. And then getting into that final room, or not final room, but getting into that room where the fight scene takes place. By that point, I had done 8 or 9 weeks of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, so it was kind of just there. I kind of knew exactly where I was going and what I was going to do and how I was going to react, and also how to prepare myself in case something went wrong, in case there was an accident of some kind. You know, our stunt coordinators were so specific and so dedicated and detailed to every single stunt in this film that they just had us prepared super, super well. So physically, I just kind of got to go in and just use my body and have fun. And for me, I love action and I love, you know, getting to do that. So it was a perfect marriage. We're filming. 3 months in, we have 3 months to go. It's a flying movie, you know. There's some planes in it. It's been amazing. It's been absolutely unreal. Tom is one of the smartest human beings I've ever met. He's one of the kindest people. He's been very like just giving and open, and he's like, listen, if you guys need something on set, if you need something for preparation, if you have questions, call me, text me, email me. Which when Tom Cruise tells you to call you, text you, or email him, like, like every single time he says it, my head kind of explodes. I'm like, wait, did he just really say that? Like, Tom Cruise didn't just say that. Like, Tom is crazy. And then every time he talks to you too, it's also this really funny thing. Like, you are the only person in the room. I always say that, like, when Tom talks to you, I literally feel like the prettiest girl in the room. Every single time. Like, it's the most amazing thing. Like, he's just very caring and it's been awesome. And he's just teaching us so much, from filmmaking to acting to just talking about, you know, his history and his 40-year career in making films. Like, there's just a lesson. It's like a master class every single day. Plus, I get to make Top Gun on top of that. Well, my dad, so my father was in the Air Force. I have 2 grandfathers and a step-grandfather that were all in the Air Force. My dad now works for American Airlines. I've loved flying my entire life. And this movie has definitely helped me fall in love even more. And I fortunately get to fly very, very often. And so with this
living the dream, man.
Yeah, it's a dream. It really is a dream. It's kind of I don't even know how to explain it. Like, if you've ever sat in a race car before, like, or even, I mean, a motorcycle is a bit different because of all your senses, because you're getting wind and you're getting smell and you're getting all the different senses on a motorcycle is a bit different. But the feeling of flying is I honestly don't know how to even explain it. It's like it's remarkable. It's really remarkable to know that you're like controlling an airplane. It's scary. But then you get past that point and you're like, oh, I'm good at this and I love this, and then that becomes its own thing. It's pretty great. Maybe. Hopefully.
Well, I mean, they brought you back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, the writers haven't started yet on Insecure. We're all kind of away doing different things, but season 4 is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a surprising one, where I think we're going to go in directions that people just really aren't expecting, and that's part of what our show does anyway. But I think this show, you're going to start rooting for people and not even realizing that you're rooting for them. Yeah.
But hey, you know, there was that campaign to get you back, you know.
And we're back. Lawrence is back.